people. I just wanted to do a little explaining on a subject that keeps repeating for like at least 20 years, that Star Trek is showing a communist society, because in the episode The Neutral Zone of The Next Generation, Captain Picard says that humanity doesn't strive for the accumulation of wealth anymore, and therefore Star Trek isn't capitalist, and for a lot of people, especially in the USA, absence of capitalism equals communism, which doesn't make any sense. It's completely stupid, but it's how people see it. That because Star Trek isn't capitalist, therefore it must be communist. There is no other alternative. If there is no capitalism, therefore it's communism. And no, that's wrong. That's completely wrong. So, what is it really? I need to do a little explaining on this. I'm not like a economics major I don't have a master's degree in economics or anything. I can tell you the layman's version, because I understand the layman's version. I can relate the layman's version to you, and that should actually be pretty fine in this context, because all you need is to understand the layman's version. Because if you compare right now capitalism versus communism, they're both concepts of scarcity. Scarcity means there's a limited amount of resources, there's a limited amount of riches to be had. So let's say there's a limited amount of $1 gajillion, and capitalism means we compete for getting the most of that, and some people get a lot because they're really good at competing, and some people don't get as much and end up really poor. And communism means we develop a system to distribute that limited amount equally among all people. And I'm not going to get into what I find better or worse. I really don't care. I'm going to leave that for the Trump-loving incels and the Bernie-loving SJWs to decide if they prefer capitalism or communism. I really don't care. I really don't care about these real-world politics. I like fiction. That's why I like Star Trek. I like fictional works. I really don't care about this real-world shit, so I'm not going to pass judgment on whether capitalism is great and communism sucks, or communism is great and capitalism sucks. I'm not going to get into that. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. I prefer to immerse myself in more interesting worlds than the stuff that is going on Twitter or Facebook or whatever at the moment. You may be into it, I'm not. And anyway, those are the two approaches to scarcity. Capitalism, that you compete for the limited resources, and communism, that you develop an elaborate system to distribute the limited resources. But those are systems developed for scarcity. And Star Trek, it displays a post-scarcity society. You probably have heard that term before. Post-scarcity society means that there is no more limit on resources. And what does that mean for capitalism and communism? For capitalism, it means if there is no limit on resources, let's say we have infinity resources. So the poorest persons on the planet right now, like homeless beggars in Zimbabwe or camp inmates in North Korea, they still have $1 million. Like the rich people, they have a quadrillion dollars, but the poorest people still have $1 million. And it's like, we're the poorest people on the planet. Oh, we have our 2 Ferraris and our villa. We are so poor. And it completely eliminates the point of the profit motive of capitalism, that if even the poorest have 2 Ferraris and a villa, what is the point to compete? Everybody has more than anything that they need. What is the point to compete? So capitalism is completely pointless in a post-scarcity society. If there are infinite resources, what point is there to compete? There is no point. And alternatively, communism in a post-scarcity society. Communism is based on the idea of developing an elaborate system to redistribute the limited resources among the population evenly. But if there are infinite resources, what actually is the point to develop a system to redistribute them if resources are limitless, if they are infinite? And like, do you really want to form a big ministry of redistribution, a big government agency redistributing? This citizen gets this portion of infinity, this citizen gets this portion of infinity. It's pointless. You don't need to make that effort if there's an infinity available. And so you if you think about Star Trek, you gotta ask yourself, how do we get to a post-scarcity society? And maybe you people have watched movies like War of the Worlds. The new version was Tom Cruise, and the 2 Independence Day movies. And what I like about War of the Worlds is not exactly like Shakespeare, but one thing is really smart about it. The one thing that is smart about it is that the aliens invade Earth because they need our blood for whatever reasons. You know the famous saying, because reasons, to fertilize their crops. So they have a reason to actually invade Earth, specifically Earth. And in the 2 Independence Day movies, they say they come here to take our natural resources. And the second one, they say they come here to take our iron core. And if you just follow astronomy, space exploration one bit, you know that you don't need to go to Earth for that. That kind of stuff is available everywhere, across the entire solar system. NASA right now is planning a mission to an asteroid called Psyche that is thought to be a failed iron core of a planet. So if you want an iron core, just go to Psyche. You don't need to battle Earth people like in Independence Day. Just go to Psyche, take that one, just pick it up, and Earth people, they aren't that far along that. They wouldn't even notice. You go there with your harvester ship, pick it up and go. Oh, we got an iron core. We didn't even have to battle Earth's military people and Will Smith's son for it. We didn't have to destroy any landmarks for it, because it's right there. It's right there everywhere in the entire solar system. All the resources we have on Earth, they're in our solar system 1,000,000 times or 1,000,000,000 times. Like our big ones right now, hydrocarbons. You go on Titan, it has like 10 times more than we have here right now. Do you know what hydrocarbons can do? Go to Norway, go to Saudi Arabia, go to the United Arab Emirates, what that can do for an economy. Imagine having the hydrocarbons of Titan, applying it to the population of this planet right now, the 7.5 billion or whatever it is. We'll all be millionaires just from having the hydrocarbons of Titan. And that's just one resource. There's also the iron, all the minerals, all the rare earth minerals, all the what is the word for 2 minerals put together? The I forgot that word. Like steel, when 2 minerals are put together. I actually had to pause the video to look it up for a really common word. It was on the tip of my tongue. The alloys, the 2 minerals put together. I had to pause the video for that. All of that what we have on Earth is in our solar system like 1 billion times. And let's not even talk about solar energy. What we get here on Earth, our solar panels, it's shit. Through our universe, our atmosphere, there's very little coming through. Out there in space, you get insane amounts of energy just from the sun. You get insane amounts of everything out there. Out there in space, in our near future, it's a complete post-scarcity society. And some people may raise the issue of, oh, but it's so expensive to go to space, like it costs millions of this and millions of that to go to space. It reminds me of that peak oil theory. Do you remember peak oil? It's something that came up in the 70s and 80s that at the turn of the century will run out of profitable oil. Because this theory was, with the technology of the 70s and 80s when the theory was created, yeah, we would have run out of profitable oil around the turn of the century. But if you watch Back to the Future, you gotta think 4-dimensional. Technology advances too. So in the turn of the century, obviously nobody had any intention of using 70s and 80s technologies. So obviously we could get oil out of the soil profitably just fine. So there was no peak oil. And the same way space, with our technology right now, getting resources from space, obviously it's too expensive to be profitable. But once we go out there, obviously think 4-dimensional McFly, our technology will have advanced. When we have an infrastructure in space to create fuel there, to have bases there, and to have lines of movement, like traffic lines, for example, from Titan to Earth. You have a base there that produces fuel for the transport. You have a base here, and the stuff from Titan is transported from the base there to the base here and dropped from the base here to our planet. And once you have that infrastructure, if you think 4-dimensional McFly, it will be immensely profitable and it will be complete post-scarcity. And that's just realistically our society, our future. That's how our next 50 years, our next half century will be. Star Trek goes even further. They have a further technological step that is part of their fiction. I mean, it's fiction, we don't know if it will ever happen, but they have the concept of energy to matter conversion, replicators, that you can put energy into something that they get from dilithium, which obviously doesn't exist in the real world, but it exists in Star Trek. You have the energy from dilithium, and you can convert energy, pure energy, into physical matter. Like, push a button, there's your food. You know the replicators, you've watched Star Trek. That's how it works. And they were never really clear on that, if it's like a transporter and that a replicator is like some guy at Starfleet headquarters beamed scrambled eggs into the transporter buffer of the replicator, and it's just producing replicas of that buffer. Or if it is in the DS9 episode, what was it called? Blaze of Glory, where Eddington has his secret mission to find his wife. There's just fake proteins and stuff. Star Trek is pretty inconsistent on that, but the general idea is that you have energy and you can create whatever you want from it. If you had that technology, think back about what I said in the beginning of capitalism and communism. What is really the point of competing, or what is really the point of redistributing if you just have really access to everything? And everybody does. The poorest person in the Federation has access to everything. The absolute poorest homeless bum in the Federation can say, "Replicator, make me a bar of gold." Replicator says, "1 bar of gold for you, please." So the poorest bum says, "Oh, nice, bar of gold," which is worthless because we live in a post-scarcity society, but here's my bar of gold. That's just how it is. That's not communist. It's not capitalist anymore, but absence of capitalism does not mean communism, because in a post-scarcity society, neither capitalism nor communism have any meaning anymore. Because what would you need them for? If everybody can have everything, why would you need those systems, those ideologies? You don't need them anymore. If you need something, you get it. Everything is available everywhere with no limit. If you need something, you get it. You don't need ideologies for it, you don't need systems for it. It just works. So there's no communism, there's no capitalism, there's no ideology, there's no system. People just get what they need, and therefore they don't need these systems and ideologies. So there's really no logical need to claim that they do.